Anatomy of the Spirit by Caroline Myss, Ph.D. Picture a young woman, exhausted and a little lost, wandering through a dusty Alaskan town. Her name was Caroline. A van driver pointed her toward an old wooden building. "Go talk to Rachel," he said, "the woman who lives there." Trusting the peculiar hospitality of this remote place, Caroline knocked. An elderly Native American woman welcomed her in for tea. As they sat surrounded by Russian icons and Athabascan blankets, Rachel gestured to a totem pole on the wall. "Do you know how to read a totem pole?" she asked. Caroline shook her head. "They're spiritual statements," Rachel explained. "The bear on top? That's our tribe's spirit guide. Strong, clever, but never killing just to kill." Then Rachel shared a story that would redirect the entire course of Caroline's life. She spoke of a medicine man who could look at a person's energy and simply know what was happening to them. Years ago he'd warned Rachel, "You'll have a broken leg soon if you don't walk better." He didn't mean her physical walk. He meant she wasn't being honest in her life, that her spirit was becoming sick from dishonesty. She had to leave for a while, and when she returned, she, quote, "walked straight." Rachel looked at this young woman from a different world and asked a question that cut straight to the heart. How is it that you don't know such things? How can you live without knowing what your spirit is doing and what your spirit is saying to you? That question ignited a lifelong quest. The young woman was Caroline Myss, and she would become one of the most important voices in energy medicine. Her book, Anatomy of the Spirit, isn't just a book. It's a map, a guide to understanding the hidden language of your body, a language that connects your spirit, your emotions, and your physical health in ways you've never imagined. What if every experience you've ever had, every relationship, every secret joy and hidden pain isn't just a memory? What if it's written into your very biology? That's the bold promise of this book. By the end of our time together, you'll begin to see your own life story, not as something that happened to you, but as something happening in you. Right now, in every cell of your body, you'll learn to read the anatomy of your own spirit. Caroline Myss didn't start out as a mystic. She was a journalist, a hard-boiled reporter who smoked, drank coffee by the gallon, and had zero patience for anything New Age. She believed in facts, in objectivity, in what she could see and prove. But life, as it often does, had other plans. After leaving journalism to study theology, something strange started happening. A friend would mention someone was sick, and an insight about the cause would just pop into her head. And she was uncannily accurate. Soon, people were calling her for intuitive assessments of their health. She was confused, even a little scared. Where were these impressions coming from? They felt like daydreams, but impersonal, unemotional. Like looking through a stranger's photo album instead of your own. This lack of emotion, she realized, was the key. It was her indicator that the information was pure, that she wasn't making it up. But the real turning point came one hot, exhausting afternoon. She was sitting with a woman who had cancer. As she prepared to deliver the difficult news that the cancer had spread, the woman reached out and asked the question that haunted Caroline. "Can't you tell me why this is happening to me?" Caroline felt a surge of irritation. How could she possibly know? But before she could speak, something extraordinary happened. An energy, a presence, flushed through her body, pushing her own consciousness aside to use her voice. She felt as if she'd shrunk down to the size of a dime, ordered to just stand watch from inside her own head. And then, a voice that wasn't hers began to speak. "Let me walk you back through your life," it said to the woman, and it did. This presence escorted the woman through every detail of her existence. the smallest conversations, moments of deep loneliness, every relationship that had ever held meaning. It left the unmistakable impression that every single second of our lives is known, recorded, and carries weight. Every attitude we hold, every judgment we make, is a source of either positive or negative power for which we are accountable. When it was over, Caroline was trembling. But the woman was calm. "Thank you so much," she said. "I can live with everything now. Even my death doesn't scare me." That day, Caroline Myss understood. She agreed to cooperate with this strange new ability, no matter where it led. And it led her to a profound discovery, the central theme of this entire book, a principle so important you should write it down. Your biography becomes your biology. Think about that for a moment. It's not just a catchy phrase, it's a fundamental law of how we function. Every thought you have triggers a physiological response. A fearful thought tightens your stomach and makes your heart race. A loving thought can relax your entire body. These thoughts aren't just abstract ideas, they are energy. And the ones that carry an emotional charge, from past relationships, traumatic experiences, or deeply held beliefs, get stored in our cellular memory. Your life story isn't just in your head, it's woven into your muscle tissue, your organs, your very cells. This is the foundation of what Myss calls energy medicine. Our physical body is surrounded by a human energy field, an information center that's constantly transmitting and receiving messages. This field holds the emotional energy of all our experiences. When you feel a vibe from someone, you're not imagining it. You are perceiving their energy field. Intuitives like Myss are simply people who've learned to read the information contained in that field. She discovered that this energy isn't random. Specific emotional and spiritual stresses correspond to problems in specific parts of the body. People with heart disease often have life experiences that led them to block out love. Those with chronic low back pain frequently carry deep-seated financial worries. It's a language, a symbolic language, and if you learn to understand it, you can start to see your own body as a living scripture, telling the story of your life. But how do we decode this language? How do we understand the map? Myss found the key not in one tradition, but in 3 ancient systems of wisdom from 3 different corners of the world. She discovered an incredible synthesis, a universal blueprint for human power and healing. This blueprint is built on the 7 energy centers of the body, known in the East as the chakras. But she didn't stop there. She saw that these 7 centers perfectly mirrored the symbolic meaning of the 7 Christian sacraments, and also the 7 levels of the Kabbalah's mystical tree of life. Now, don't get hung up on the religious terms. Myss asks us to look at these not as dogma, but as a symbolic map of the human spirit. Each of these 7 centers, whether you call it a chakra, a sacrament, or a level on the tree of life, represents a profound, universal spiritual truth that we're all here to learn. Violating these truths weakens our spirit and our body. Honoring them makes us strong. This is the real anatomy of the spirit. It's a journey through these 7 centers of power, a journey from our most basic physical instincts to our highest spiritual connection. Let's take that journey now. First chakra, tribal power. Our journey begins at the base of the spine, in the first chakra. Myss calls this the center of tribal power. The sacred truth of this first center is simple. All is one. This is our foundation. It's our connection to our family, our community, our culture, our tribe. It's the energy of belonging, of group identity, of safety in numbers. From our tribe, we inherit our first beliefs about the world, our language, our traditions, our sense of honor, and our fears. This energy is so primal that it's physically connected to our most fundamental systems, our bones, our legs, our feet, and most importantly, our immune system. Think about it. What does a tribe do? It protects the group. What does your immune system do? It protects your body from outside invaders. Myss argues that when our personal tribal issues are weak, when we feel betrayed by our family, abandoned by our group, or victimized by our culture, our first chakra loses power, making us energetically susceptible to immune-related illnesses. She gives the powerful example of the polio epidemic in the 1930s and 40s. It emerged right after the Great Depression, a time when the entire American tribe described itself as being crippled by economic disaster. The fear and powerlessness of the tribe manifested physically in its most vulnerable members, especially children, as a crippling disease. It wasn't until the tribe healed its spirit through the unity and purpose of World War II, when it felt on its feet again, that the vaccine for polio was finally discovered. All is one. The health of the tribe affects the health of the individual. The symbolic sacrament connected to this chakra is baptism. Stripped of religious dogma, baptism is about honoring your family as sacred, as the divinely chosen tribe you needed to begin your life's journey. It's about accepting them and forgiving them so that you can heal your own foundation. One of the most powerful stories Myss shares is about a man named Tony. As an 8-year-old boy from a poor immigrant family, he got a job at a candy store to help support his parents. But the store owner began to sexually abuse him. Scared but desperate to help his family, who now counted on the money, Tony lived this nightmare for years. He finally found the courage to tell his mother, who responded by forbidding him to ever speak of it again. The family needed the money. The pain of that family betrayal was even greater than the abuse itself. It destroyed him, leading to years of alcoholism, rage, and self-destruction. He couldn't heal because his tribe, his very foundation, had failed to protect him. His healing only began when he finally, through therapy and prayer, found a way to baptize himself, to bless his family by understanding their desperate circumstances, forgiving their weakness, and reclaiming his own strength. He honored his tribe, not by condoning their actions, but by healing his connection to them, and in doing so, he healed himself. Second chakra, the power of relationships. Once we have our foundation in the tribe, our energy naturally moves upward and outward into the world of relationships. This brings us to the second chakra, located in the lower abdomen. This is the center of the power of relationships. The sacred truth here is, honor one another. This chakra governs our one-on-one connections, partnerships, friendships, and professional bonds. It's also the center of our creative energy, our finances, our ethics, and our sexuality. It's all about duality, the dynamic dance between you and another, you and the world. It's where the unified energy of the tribe splits into polarities, male/female, yin/yang, me/you. And at the heart of this duality is the most powerful force we possess as individuals, the power of choice. Every choice you make, Myss says, is a creative act of spiritual power for which you are held responsible. Every choice is motivated by one of two energies, faith or fear. If you choose from faith, you have the power of heaven behind you. If you choose from fear, you violate that energy, and the consequences will reflect that fear. The great paradox of this chakra is that while its energy drives us to try and control our external world, our money, our partners, our careers, the ultimate lesson is that we cannot be in control. The only thing we can truly master is our inner response to the world. The physical areas governed by this chakra are the sexual organs, large intestine, lower back, and hips. When we're consumed by the fear of losing control, fear of financial loss, betrayal, abandonment, or impotence, this is where illness often manifests. Problems like ovarian or prostate cancer, chronic low back pain, and arthritis are often rooted in second chakra energy dysfunctions. The sacrament here is communion. Symbolically, this means recognizing that every relationship in your life is there by divine design to teach you something about yourself. When we break bread with someone, we're honoring that sacred union. To view someone as an enemy is to block our ability to see the lesson they're there to teach us. Myss tells a tragic story of a woman named Julie who had ovarian and breast cancer. Her marriage was a nightmare. Her husband treated her with utter contempt, spitting on her and literally stepping over her as she slept on the floor outside their bedroom, begging for his affection. When asked why she didn't leave, she said she'd never been able to take care of herself and needed him. She couldn't honor herself, and she couldn't honor the sacred truth of the relationship, which was that it was destroying her. Her energy circuits were completely attached to him, draining her life force until her body gave out. She died within a year. In contrast, another woman, Joanna, also had breast cancer and a difficult marriage. Her husband was unfaithful, but through workshops, she began to honor herself. She recognized her own needs and boundaries. When her husband refused to change, she found the strength to leave him. She honored herself and honored the truth of the relationship. She divorced him and recovered from her cancer. The journey of self-discovery is not about controlling others. It's about making choices that honor yourself and others. This leads us to the third center. Third chakra, personal power. From the tribe to our relationships, the energy now turns inward. We arrive at the third chakra, located at the solar plexus. This is the center of personal power, and its sacred truth is, honor oneself. This chakra is all about your relationship with yourself. It's about self-esteem, self-respect, and self-discipline. It's the energy that helps you form an identity separate from your family and your partnerships. It's your gut instinct, your inner voice that tells you what's right for you. The sacrament here is confirmation, which symbolizes the emergence of the conscious self, the moment you accept responsibility for the person you become. It's about developing your own personal code of honor and having the courage to live by it. Physically, this chakra is connected to the stomach, liver, pancreas, and adrenal glands. Illnesses that originate here, like ulcers, diabetes, or digestive problems, are often activated by fears of rejection, criticism, and a deep-seated feeling of not being good enough. Myss says that without a strong sense of self-esteem, we're incapable of making healthy decisions. We give our power away to others, hoping to gain their approval or security. This is where your intuition truly finds its voice. But Myss offers a critical clarification. Intuition is not about predicting the future. It's the ability to read energy data in the present moment and make choices based on that information. It's that feeling of discomfort, that gut hunch, telling you something isn't right. But if you lack self-esteem, you can't act on that guidance, because the fear of failure or rejection is too strong. Honoring oneself means having the courage to trust that inner voice, even when it's uncomfortable. Myss tells a powerful story about a woman named Margaret, who grew up in a plain, ordinary, and strict home. Her parents controlled everything: what she read, who her friends were. She became a nurse and married a man who was just like her parents. Her world was small and safe. Then, she was assigned to care for a woman named Ollie, the town outcast, who was rumored to be, quote, dangerous. But Margaret found a lonely, harmless woman who, years ago, had discovered she had the power to heal. This power had ultimately led to her husband leaving her and taking their children after a doctor called her a witch. Ollie opened up a new world for Margaret, a world of spirit, of healing, of a power beyond the ordinary. But Margaret's husband, like her parents, was threatened by these new ideas. He forbid her to see Ollie again. Margaret was torn. For the first time in her life, she refused to be controlled by someone else's fear. She chose to honor herself, her own truth, even though it meant her husband left her and her friends and colleagues sided with him. She stood alone, honoring herself. Then, the miracle. Her husband was diagnosed with colon cancer. Scared, he came back to her and asked the one question he never thought he would. Would Ollie be able to help me? They went to Ollie, who prayed over him. Within 3 months, he recovered completely. That one act of courage, of honoring herself, not only transformed Margaret's life, it saved her husband's. Fourth chakra, emotional power. The journey through these first 3 chakras has been about our relationship with the external, physical world, our tribe, our partners, and our place in society. But now, we reach the midpoint, the bridge. We arrive at the 4th chakra, the center of the chest. This is the heart, the powerhouse of the entire system. This is the center of emotional power. And the sacred truth that fuels everything is, love is divine power. This is the mediator between body and spirit. While we often think of our intellect as our greatest strength, Myss insists that emotional energy is the true motivator of the human spirit. Love, forgiveness, compassion, hope, and trust. These aren't soft, weak emotions. They are the most powerful forces in the universe. Physically, this chakra governs the heart, lungs, circulatory system, and breasts. Illnesses here, heart attacks, lung cancer, breast cancer, are born from emotional wounds. The strongest poison to the human spirit, Myss says, is the inability to forgive. It disables our emotional resources and blocks the flow of love. The sacrament connected to the heart is marriage. Symbolically, this means first and foremost forming a sacred bond with yourself. It's about consciously attending to your own emotional needs so that you can truly love and accept another. This is where we must confront what Myss calls the wounded child within us. This archetype holds all the painful memories and dysfunctional patterns from our youth. Fear of abandonment, negative self-image, the trauma of abuse. If these wounds remain unhealed, they keep us living in the past, sabotaging our adult relationships and our health. Loving yourself means having the courage to confront this wounded child, not to indulge it, but to heal it. And this leads to one of the most brilliant and challenging ideas in the book, the concept of woundology. Myss observes that in our modern culture, we've created a new language of intimacy based on our wounds. We bond with each other not through our strengths, but by exchanging stories of our pain. We become wound mates. She tells a story of meeting a woman for lunch who, when asked a simple yes or no question, launched into a dramatic monologue about being an incest survivor. She wasn't just sharing her story. She was using her wound as a form of currency, a way to control the situation and demand a certain kind of attention. The danger, Myss warns, is that we can become addicted to our wounds. We use them to get support, to excuse our behavior, to avoid taking responsibility. Healing becomes frightening, because if we let go of our wounds, who are we? What power do we have? The path to an empowered heart requires moving beyond this language of wounds. It means committing to healing all the way to the source. It means identifying your wounds, but then observing how you use them. It means taking on the difficult challenge of forgiveness, not to let the other person off the hook, but to liberate your own spirit from the past. Forgiveness is what allows you to finally call your spirit back to the present moment. Fifth chakra, the power of will. As we learn to open our hearts, we're ready to face one of the greatest challenges of the spiritual path. We move up to the fifth chakra, located at the throat. This is the power of will. The sacred truth here is profound. Surrender personal will to divine will. This chakra is the center of choice and consequence. Every thought, every word, every choice we make is an act of power with consequences that ripple out into the world. The spiritual challenge here is to mature in our use of will. We begin life believing everyone else has authority over us, our tribe. Then we fight for the belief that we alone have authority over ourselves. But the final stage of maturation is realizing that true authority comes from aligning our personal will with a higher, divine will. Physically, this chakra governs the throat, thyroid, mouth, and jaw. Problems here often relate to expression, the inability to speak your truth, and to the struggle with willpower. Every illness, Myss says, has a connection to this chakra, because choice is involved in every aspect of our lives. The sacrament here is confession. Symbolically, this is about acknowledging our choices and their consequences. It's about retrieving our spirit from the negative missions we've sent it on. It's about being honest with ourselves, because dishonesty obstructs healing as much as the inability to forgive. The greatest struggle for the human spirit is the idea of surrender. It feels like giving up, like losing control. We're terrified that if we surrender to divine will, we'll lose all our physical comforts and desires. But Myss insists this is a misunderstanding. Surrender is not about giving up your life. It's about letting go of the illusion that you are in charge of it. It's liberation. She tells the story of Marnie, a social worker who developed a mysterious and excruciatingly painful condition that no doctor could diagnose. After years of suffering, she had a dream in which a voice asked her, "Can you accept what I have given you?" She thought she had surrendered, but her pain only got worse. Finally, one night, weeping in despair, she realized the difference between resignation and true surrender. Resignation says, "All right, I'll do this. Now reward me." But true surrender says, "Whatever you choose for me, so be it. Just give me strength." The moment she truly surrendered, her pain eased, and her hands filled with a spiritual heat. She knew, instantly, that she now had the power to heal others, even if she herself wasn't fully healed. Her surrender didn't take away her struggle, but it transformed it into a path of service and profound purpose. Sixth chakra, the power of the mind. From the will we ascend into the realm of the mind. We reach the sixth chakra, at the center of the forehead. This is the third eye, the power of the mind. The sacred truth of this chakra is, seek only the truth. This is the center of wisdom, of our reasoning abilities, and of our capacity to see beyond illusion. The great challenge here is to develop what Myss calls detachment, or an impersonal mind. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means stilling the fear-driven voices in your head so you can see a situation clearly, symbolically, without getting lost in the drama of your personal feelings. It's the ability to see the higher lesson in a painful experience. The sacrament for this chakra is ordination. Symbolically, this doesn't mean becoming a priest. It means finding your unique path of service, the contribution that only you can make to the world. It's the recognition from others that you have a wisdom that benefits them. It's about becoming a channel for divine energy, whether you're a mother, a teacher, an artist, or a healer. Myss shares a powerful story about a woman named Peace Pilgrim. At 52, this woman listened to an inner voice that told her to walk across the country on behalf of peace. With only the clothes on her back, she walked until she was given a place to rest, and ate only what she was offered. She lived in complete trust. Her life became a statement of the power that comes from seeking only truth and living in harmony with the divine. Her instructions to others were ever so simple. I don't eat junk food, and I don't think junk thoughts. Honor the body, honor the mind, honor the spirit. Becoming conscious, developing this impersonal mind, is the goal. But Myss reminds us that this journey is not about outwitting death or becoming immune to disease. The goal is to master the spirit, not the physical body. The body is simply the classroom. In fact, many people do their greatest spiritual healing as they're dying. Death is not a failure to heal. It's about healing the fear of death, which is one of the greatest blessings of a conscious life. Seventh chakra, the spiritual connector. This brings us to the final destination of our journey. We arrive at the seventh chakra at the very top of the head. This is the spiritual connector. The sacred truth that crowns our journey is, live in the present moment. This is our direct connection to the divine, the entry point for the life force that nourishes our entire being. It is the chakra of prayer and devotion. It is our grace bank account, where we store the energy generated by acts of faith and kindness. Spirituality, Myss clarifies, is different from religion. Religion is a group experience, rooted in the first chakra's need for tribal safety. Spirituality is an individual experience, a personal pursuit of a relationship with the divine. When we activate this chakra, we're asking for a direct connection, without a mediator. We're asking for all illusions to be removed from our lives. This can trigger a dark night of the soul, a period of deep spiritual crisis, where old identities fall away and we feel lost, disconnected, and filled with a longing for meaning that nothing in the external world can satisfy. It's a terrifying but necessary part of the journey. The only way through it is with faith, prayer, and devotion. The sacrament of this chakra is extreme unction, or the last rites. Symbolically, this isn't just for the end of life. It represents the crucial practice of bringing things to closure. It's about calling your spirit back from all your unfinished business, releasing regrets, and forgiving the past so that you can live fully, completely, in the now. Holding on to the past drains your spirit and your body. The sacred truth, live in the present moment, is not just a nice idea, it's a biological and spiritual necessity. Myss shares the wisdom of Ron, a former priest who became a renowned spiritual healer. He describes the dark night as a question from God. Are you capable of believing in me even in the darkest night? Passing through that test is what ordains a true healer. He explains that healing through prayer isn't about getting something from God, it's about being with God. It's about invoking the energy of grace, so that we feel more powerful than our illness. And so our journey through the seven centers comes full circle. We began with the tribe, with the truth that all is one, and we end with our personal connection to the divine, and the truth that the only place to experience that oneness is to live in the present moment. The anatomy of our spirit is a sacred text. We contain the scripture, we contain divinity. And once you realize the magnificent stuff of which you're made, you have no choice but to live a spiritual life. What Caroline Myss has given us in Anatomy of the Spirit is more than just a book about alternative health. It's a profound reimagining of what it means to be a human being. The central idea that your biography becomes your biology is a concept that, once you truly grasp it, changes everything. It shifts you from being a passive victim of your genetics and your circumstances to an active co-creator of your life and your health. Now, this isn't about blame. Myss is very clear about that. We rarely choose consciously to create an illness. Rather, it's about empowerment. It's about recognizing that the attitudes, beliefs, and emotional wounds we carry have a real, tangible weight. They're not invisible. They're literally shaping our physical reality. The true genius of this book is how Myss bridges ancient wisdom with our modern lives. By weaving together the chakras, the sacraments, and the Kabbalah, she shows us that these aren't separate, competing religious ideas. They're different languages describing the same universal human journey, a journey of learning how to manage our power. She gives us a vocabulary to understand the interplay between our spirit and our body, moving it from the realm of the mystical into something practical and accessible. So what can you, a young person on the verge of building your own life, take from this? How can you apply this anatomy to your own spirit? Let me offer just a few simple starting points. First, begin the practice of energy self-evaluation. At the end of each day, just take a few quiet moments. Ask yourself, where did I lose power today? What fears were active in me? What choices did I make that felt draining? You don't need to judge it, just notice. This simple act of awareness is the first step in learning to manage your energy consciously. Second, start practicing symbolic sight. When you face a challenge, whether it's a conflict with a friend, a struggle in school, or a personal disappointment, try to ask a different question. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is the lesson here for me? What truth is this situation trying to teach me?" This shifts your perspective from that of a victim to that of a student. Every challenge becomes an opportunity for growth. And finally, embrace the power of the present moment. So much of our energy is lost to replaying the past or worrying about the future. Myss teaches us that healing requires us to call our spirit back from these places. This is the true work of forgiveness and confession. It's not about forgetting what happened. It's about refusing to let it drain your power today. That was a summary of Anatomy of the Spirit by Caroline Myss. We've journeyed through the 7 centers of power today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only show you the map. The real adventure happens when you decide to take the journey yourself. The true power of this book isn't in just knowing the concepts. It's in the quiet moments of reading, when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with something deep inside you, something you didn't even know was there. This summary is your guide to decide if this journey is one you're ready to take. If anything we've talked about has sparked a sense of curiosity or recognition, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see your body, your past, and the incredible power of your own spirit. A link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to Billionaire's Bookshelf. It helps us reach more people who, like you, are on a path of growth and discovery. By subscribing, you ensure you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.